Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. Readers of freedomsphoenix.com are constantly provided the information that detail the real news between the lines of propaganda about government policies and the true relationship we all have with coercive governments. Learn the true condition of our economy, innovations and technological breakthroughs in energy, health, computer science, and space travel. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media, the media that is so last century. Corporate media has evolved into nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but we now have a fantastic alternative. FreedomsPhoenix.com provides constant news updates on the issues that affect our lives in the most important ways. Our liberty and our property are under constant attack, and FreedomsPhoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda while encouraging the participation of our readers. Join us at FreedomsPhoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. FreedomsPhoenix.com, where the revolution between the ears has already matured.
It's time for Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock.
Oh, the heat is on! The heat is on here on Declare Your Independence with me, Ernest Hancock, here in Phoenix, Arizona, from the beautiful studios of Freedoms with an S, freedomsphoenix.com. Make sure you go there. You know, this is, do I have time? I see how fast I can read this. This is what I wanted to do. We have, Larkin Rose wrote an article that we put up. My wife, you know, Donna, she doesn't often say, you know, you got to read, did you read, you should read. And I like Larkin's stuff, and I sat down to read it, and I go, ooh, we're going to put that back up on the top. Now, let me go ahead, and I'm going to read it real fast. It's about the Gifford shooting, and this is, I'm going to see if I can get it in real quick, because I think I want to get it in the archive. He's not advocating for any violence or anything. In fact, he's against that. The point that he's making is that, you know, what makes him so special? I mean, you know, I'm just going to read it. The Gifford shooting, unpleasant truth. Let me start with a disclaimer. I say what I mean. If what I actually say offends you, and for a lot of people it will, then you probably need offending. But don't bother being offended at things I didn't say, but which you imagine I meant. If I meant it, I would have said it. Here we go. The national news is full of reports of the shooting of Gabriel Giffords. Considering how inconsistent the reports have been, even from the beginning, I don't know what happened or why. Maybe I never will. Whether the guy was simply a loony, whether there was some political motive, whether it was another false flag propaganda stunt, which wouldn't surprise me a bit, I could only guess. And since my guess would be essentially worthless, at least right now, I won't bother. Instead, I want to quickly address several things about the way in which a story has been reported in the media. Be warned. When there has been bloodshed and death, people get emotional, and bluntly discussing literal realities upsets people. Tyrants specialize in manipulating emotions in order to defeat reason and understanding. That's why stating the truth is most important when people don't want to hear it. So, here it goes. The death of Mrs. Giffords was not a huge national tragedy, any more than the hundreds of other murders that happened the same day. Mrs. Giffords was not a great public servant. In fact, she was not a public servant at all. She was not serving you or me or anyone else other than the elite ruling class. She did not represent the people. She was a member of the parasitic American ruling class. She was not working for the people. What she did, along with her fellow political parasites, was use the threat of violence to subjugate, control, and extort the general public. Like every other member of Congress, she produced nothing of value, neither product nor service. As a legislator, her entire job consisted of coming up with new ways to use the coercion of law to forcibly control you and me, and use the products of our efforts to serve the agenda of the parasite class. Did she mean well? How should I know? And frankly, I don't particularly care. As far as I can tell, Hitler meant well, and so did many of the thugs who carried out his megalomaniacal ideas. Did that make him good? Did that make it a national tragedy when he died? No. The tragedy was that a human being could ever imagine that forcibly subjugating the human race is the only way to make a better society. Whatever her intentions, it was a bigger tragedy that Mrs. Giffords ever became a member of the professional criminal class than it was that she was shot. If I ever suddenly decide to embrace the love of dominion and seek to use brute force to dominate and subjugate innocent people, I hope someone does me the favor of shooting me. Notwithstanding the fact that legal thuggery, extortion, aggression, and violence is hidden under many layers of euphemisms, rhetoric, and propaganda, the blunt truth is that Gabrielle Giffords is or was a professional bully and parasite. What lawmakers do is enact laws, and laws are neither suggestions nor requests. They are commands, backed by threat of violence. Obama's Commie-Care, for example, for all the fluff and BS that was used to promote it, was, like all laws, a threat of violence. However complicated and convoluted it was, essentially what it did was tell doctors, patients, insurance companies, and others, you must do this and you may not do that, and prescribe forceful retaliation against any who were caught disobeying. That's what every law is. As a mental exercise, try making up a law for yourself, up a law yourself that is not a threat of violence. You will fail. Politicians do not serve the public or represent the public. They forcibly dominate, control, and extort the public. Despite all the patently inaccurate rhetoric about public servants, representative government, and other statist dogma, which will be the subject of upcoming videos, the relationship of every government to its subjects is a master-slave relationship. They tell you what to do, and they take your money. And if you resist, they send men with guns to hurt you. To think they're doing that for your benefit is insane. With that in mind, perhaps the most telling statement in all the reports of the incident were the comments of another parasitic tyrant, John Boehner, Republican, now President of the Senate, or Speaker of the House, who said that acts of threats of violence against public officials have no place in our society. Wow, the hypocrisy is astounding. Everything, absolutely everything, that Boehner, Giffords, and every other member of the parasitic ruling class do constitutes threats of violence, often against you. Try disobeying one of their laws. If you don't believe me, just go and try it. Yet they become outraged if one of their victims does to them what they do to millions of people on a daily basis. Incidentally, Boehner also said, an attack on one who serves is an attack on all who serve. That one sentence, all by itself, with the lies it implies and the psychosis it exhibits, deserves its own article. Am I suggesting that people go out and shoot the politicians? No. Even if it were justified, it wouldn't result in freedom. If anything, it would only serve as an excuse for authoritarian control freaks to increase their power and further infringe on the liberty of others. You can already see the push towards this in the aftermath of the shooting of Giffords. As much as I bash the God-complex parasites who infest D.C., the individual politicians are not the real problem. The real problem is that the victims of the tyranny continue to imagine it to be legitimate. When thuggery and aggression are cloaked in pseudo-religious political rituals, as long as the people bow down at the altar of government, getting rid of one parasite by vote or by bullet will accomplish nothing, as a new parasite will step right in. On the other hand, when the people outgrow their superstitious addiction to authority worship, no election or revolution will be needed to remove the parasite class. Government exists only because the people imagine that it exists. When the people rid themselves of their status indoctrination and see reality for what it is, the parasite class will be ignored out of existence. On that note, I can't resist mentioning the release of the most dangerous superstition. If you think that the people in power are the real problem and that another election or even a revolution is a solution, I implore you to read the book. You might find that your own beliefs and assumptions and your own perceptions and actions are feeding the beast that you fear, the beast that is eating you. Larkin Rose. Yep, the most dangerous superstition. The most dangerous superstition is this concept that, well, he pulled the sword from Excalibur. He must be my ruler. There's a scene from Monty Python, The Search of the Holy Grail, where the King Arthur comes upon some peasants and says, "I am your king." And he goes, "Yeah, well, what made you that? We don't have a king here." And it goes into an argument, and it's funny. See, I'm being oppressed by the, monarchy or whatever. And it was a very instructive. This was in the 70s that this movie came out. People have been saying these kinds of things for a long time. Larkin's really good at it. He's author of the book, The Iron Web. And in that whole book, the whole point is that we just have voluntary and even often temporary alliances with each other, and certainly commerce. Just because I buy something from somebody doesn't mean I become their best friend. It's over. It's done. And what he demonstrates is that, they want to build up. I was watching a football game Monday. It was the national championship of somebody versus somebody. I think it was Auburn, Oklahoma, whatever it was. And what happened was, I'm sitting there watching this, and in the beginning, all of the military uniforms, all of the pomp and circumstance, all of this patriotism, all of this, America beautiful and singing Star Spangled, and the big and giant American flag that took over the entire football field, covered with an American flag. Oh, they're trying really hard, don't you think? Yeah, I think so. They want to keep you on the plantation. The revolution's up here. It's between the ears. Take advantage of it. All you got to do is declare your independence. I declare my independence. This is Ernest Hancock. I'm publisher of freedomsphoenix.com and the radio talk show host of Declare Your Independence. Now, I want to give you my personal endorsement of a wealthy U.S. citizen that is predicting that in 2011, we will witness the most important day in America in more than 50 years. He's produced a video for you. It's a real eye-opener, and I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to watch it. www.endofamerica, the numbers 1 and 7.com. Endofamerica17.com. This video has the history of how we got where we are now and where we're going and why. Now, it's a lengthy video. It'll be about 20 minutes, but you need to watch this so you understand what's going to happen to this country and how you can protect your wealth and even benefit financially. Now, you go there. It's free. I want you to watch this video. You need to have this information so that you can survive the economic collapse that's coming to America. It's not if, it's when. That's End of America, the numbers 1 and 7.com. After you watch it, you'll understand why I endorse it.